What is going on, guys? Sirs here, back on the channel with a deck profile video. I just took this deck to locals, went 5-0, first place. I was playing White Forest Azamina Pure without Fiendsmith. I know it's been a while, thanks for your patience, guys. I've been playing a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! I just haven't been uploading lately, so that's my bad. But I really wanted to show you guys this deck profile because I really think that this is, even though it's been kind of labeled tier 2 in the current format, I think it can really push that envelope with a little more fine-tuning, a little more practice in the meta. I think this deck is really good, and I'm going to showcase that for you guys right now. So let's get into it. The first cards are obviously LZ of the White Forest as your main starter. This is the one you want to see the most when you're not seeing this one, Sylvie of the White Forest. To be fair, both of these together are kind of crazy. If you have a spell or trap, go Sylvie first, kind of bait that first interaction, then you can go LZ, see where you go from there. I'm also playing one copy of a Stellar and one copy of Rushia. Honestly, like, Rushia is kind of one of the worst ones, but when you get in a situation where you need Rushia, she turns into one of the best ones. Like, if you get stopped and like you kind of just need a way to extend, like getting into Rushia and then just it's either it can make or break games 100%. And then obviously we're on one copy of the LZ Azamina of the White Forest. I would love to play one more of these just as an extra extender. There's been situations where I reveal it in hand and actually summon my Stellar instead, and then just pop off from there. This card's crazy. Summons from hand like Cartesia. You can use it to fuse. You can when it's sent to the graveyard as synchro material, it searches your Sinful Spoils engine. It does everything for the deck. Next up, we got the 3 Diabell monsters. Diabell Star of Black Witch, Diabell Star of Vengeance, and Diabell's the White Witch. This deck now has main deck boss monsters in addition to the extra deck boss monsters in the form of Diabell's and Vengeance, which is absolutely insane. The Diabell's White Witch card comes up so clutch in Mitsurugi matchups and into Detonator as well, because none of your monsters can be popped by card effects as long as you have another Diabell on the field. Diabell Star Vengeance is probably the best boss monster in this deck, being that quick effect to pop and then tutor out a synchro tuner monster from your extra deck, which is usually either Silvera or Poplar, or it can even be Recelia for the extra destruction protection. And then Black Witch can set a multitude of different cards from your deck, depending on the situation. We'll get into those in a bit. I'm on 3 copies of Witch of the White Forest. Realistically, I think you could play this at 2, but just seeing the extra copy, seeing the extra name, seeing the extra extender, even though it locks you out of your dark monsters out of the extra deck for the rest of the turn, usually you go into your Azamina stuff first and then you kind of head into your White Forest combo, or your secondary White Forest combo, I should say. But this card is really good. I haven't used the tuner effect yet. I'm not playing Arclight. I'm not playing that package to turn one of your level 2s into a tuner. But this card is just great as almost an extender to just Rhoda one of your White Forest monsters. Obviously this card loses a lot to Droll, but I'm playing something kind of funny in the main deck today. And I'll show you that in a second too. I tried a copy of Set Rotation and Chicken Game just for access to the field spell today. It came up once and it was kind of funny because my opponent opened like 2 Imperms, and because they had a set Chicken Game on their field, they couldn't activate Imperm. But I'm cutting this, don't worry. It's not as great as it looks. It also loses to Droll when you activate Witch of the White Forest to do your first search. Then you get Drolled. Like, it is what it is. But I just thought it was a funny scenario to shut off Imperm and wanted to try it out today. I'm cutting these though, so don't listen to this. I'm on 1 copy of Tails and 1 copy of Sinful Spoils of the White Forest. I actually wasn't on Guardian Chimera today because I just didn't have the room in the extract that I wanted. I wanted to try out a couple things, but it's good as an extender to summon something from your hand, and you can still fuse into your Azamina monsters. And then Tales of the White Forest, I was playing 2, but I cut it down to 1 because I thought that was enough. I actually saw it more than I thought I was going to see going first in some hands, which was nice, but 1 is fine. I am playing 3 copies of Wanted Poster, the 1 copy of Deception, and the 1 copy of Hallowed Azamina. These are uncuttable. This ratio is perfectly fine the way it is. You can add to it, but I wouldn't take away any of these ratios as they are. Wanted Poster also searches for your Diabell Star Vengeance, by the way. 1 copy of Affiliate Diabell, 1 copy of Curse of Diabell. These are the new cards that came out in Alliance Insight. Curse of Diabell is actually an insane card in this deck, both the send effect and the on-field effect. The on-field effect is basically sending a monster you control to the graveyard to Raigeki your opponent's face-up cards. The main reason for this card is when it's sent to the graveyard in your hand from the deck, it can search Filia Diabell, and Filia Diabell is what you use to get into either Diabells or Diabell Star Vengeance. And then when Filia Diabell is banished, all your current Diabell monsters on the field gain 500. So they're 3k beaters that also have crazy effects. As far as trap lineups go, I am playing 1 copy of Sinful Spoils Silvera, 1 copy of Morian, and 1 copy of Determination. I need to shout out Abdul Razak Yu-Gi-Oh! On YouTube for the Silvera and the Determination tech. Silvera was actually crazy Omni in my matchups today. It was just an extra layer that really helped push. And Determination was crazy when I was either dark locked and needed to wait till next turn to summon Azamina monster like Ilia Sylvia, or if I just needed an extra layer of interruption by like summoning out Moa Regina or Saint Azamina on my opponent's turn too. And then Morian's really good into a lot of matchups right now. It's also really good if one of your Diabells gets negated, you can chain it and then chain the Morian to dodge the negation effects. Like when it's booked face down, it'll forget that it was negated, and then your effect will resolve. Or you can use it on your opponent's monster to flip, let's say, their Dormouse face down if they normal summon it. I'm on 2 copies of Foolish Burial Goods. This was actually kind of a crazy card in the deck this week. I was mainly using it to dump Curse of Diabell, but there is a card in the side deck that I use it to dump as well that I'll get to when I get to the side deck. But 2 copies of Foolish Burial Goods I thought was really good into the matchups today. Now for everyone's favorite part of the deck profile, the hand trap lineup. We're playing 3 copies of Ash Blossom, 3 copies of Mulcher Army Fuwalos, 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird, and 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. I feel like these are pretty standard in the decks these days. I actually think the weakest hand trap here is Imperm, and it's probably cuttable, which is crazy to say because it just doesn't feel that good into this format right now. But I want to make sure I'm playing traps to summon Vengeance out, and I know I'm playing a bunch of Azamina and Sinful Spoils traps, but on the odd chance that I need to go second and open an Imperm and use it on my turn, at least I have a trap loaded in the grave as one of the 2 requirements to summon Vengeance out. It's still a good card. I'll keep it in the decks, but it did feel the weakest out of this bunch. And for the last 3 cards, all the 1-ofs, we're playing Triple Tactics Talents, 1 Call by the Grave, and 1 Crossout Designator. These kind of just speak for himself. They're all Droll hate, they're all hand trap hate. I saw them a fair amount into my games. I saw them quite a bit in my Raziel Mitsurugi matchup, which was nice. Games 1 and 3. And they're just sacky 1-ofs that just win you the game. Konami should have just banned all of these cards. Moving on to the extra deck, we're playing 1 Link monster, and that's SP Little Knight. Pretty self-explanatory card. SP's great if you have a lot of extra bodies in this deck. It's nice to be able to make an SP out of, let's say, your Muracielago, so that you could shuffle back your Hallowed Azamina, and then you get a little bit of value off of it instead of sending it from the field. In our synchro lineup, we're going 1 Poplar of the White Forest. We're playing 1 of each of the White Witch or White Woods, White Forest synchro monsters. I'm playing 1 copy of Jura, 1 copy of Chaos Angel, and then 1 of the Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragons. All of these were absolutely huge in my matchups. Every one of them got used in a fair amount of games. Poplar is insane. The set 2 effect from the graveyard actually is what saved a lot of my games, because sometimes I just did not have as many accesses to spells and traps on my opponent's turn as I wanted to. And then eventually when I got to the part of Poplar, I was able to set 2s to make my Queen Diabell live as well. And that helped an extra layer of interruption on my opponent's turn too. Silvera, the book effect is crazy into Raziel matchups, into Malice matchups before they can link summon. It's just crazy in general. Jura was actually nuts to be able to nuke boards and just to gain life points when I've used some to either pay half or other ways that I'll show you in the side deck. Chaos Angel's Chaos Angel, it's really easy to get out with Muracielago and then any level 4 White Forest card. It comes up a lot more than you think, especially if, like I said before, when you're making Little Knight out of some materials just because you need an extra space. Chaos Angel's there as well. And then Vengeance Dragon is actually a really good card. A quick effect push is a lot better than it sounds. And then the battle phase pop really just helps you kind of control the board and make sure you get to turn 3. All of these were absolutely crazy today. To round out the extra deck with the fusions, we're playing 1 Azamina Soul, 1 Azamina Ilia Sylvia, 1 Muracielago, 1 Moa Regina, 1 Azamina, 1 Saint Azamina, 1 Azamina, and then 1 Snake Eyes Doom Dragon. You're able to play Snake Eyes Doom Dragon because of Poplar of the White Forest being able to set those two, and then the next turn, if you need an extra push, you can Doom Dragon out. The Saint Azamina cards are actually insane. Saint Azamina, there's an OTK where you basically summon it in attack position, then you can summon out Azamina LZ from the main deck if you've shuffled it back with Hallowed, and then if you have access to Ilia Sylvia, which you usually do in this deck, Ilia Sylvia makes the damage your opponent takes double, and then Saint Azamina says any damage you take, your opponent would take instead. So you swing into big bodies with Azamina LZ, it dies, and then you can swing into something with Saint Azamina as well. With regular Azamina, it's an FDK versus Blue Eyes because they can't activate any of their 0 attack monsters. They can't be destroyed by card effects, and it's just a 4K beat stick, which also contribute one of your opponent's monsters on the field when you have Saint Azamina as one of the materials. And then Moa Regina is essentially, Moa Regina is just insane. If you can get Moa Regina out with your Vengeance, it turns into a pop 3 instead of a pop 2 because your Vengeance is treated as a Sinful Spoils card. So when you Vengeance pop something, you can activate Moa Regina as the direct chain link as long as your opponent doesn't have any response. And you can pop an additional 2 cards on the field, which is crazy. Onto the side deck I used for my locals this week, I'm playing 3 copies of Meowls, 3 copies of Lancias, and 2 copies of Chaos Hunters. Meowls is just pretty good against any Fiendsmith variant decks and obviously Malice. And then the Lancia and Chaos Hunters are specifically also for Malice because no matter what, even if that deck was a tier 74 deck, table 500 deck, I'm siding in Malice hate anyway because I hate that deck. So I'm playing 2 copies of Lightning Storm and 1 copy of Feather Duster, 2 copies of Sales Ban because we hate Droll in this household. And then I'm also siding in 1 copy of Subversion for going second. Subversion came up quite a bit. Pushing stuff into the back row was really helpful, just as an extra form of interruption when I already have some Sinful Spoils stuff going second and I need to just push into a board. Lightning Storm and Duster were insane. Lightning Storm basically won me game 3 versus Malice because my opponent bricked. He set 4. I drew into Lightning Storm, and he still had Ash in hand. He had a strike set, TB11, Malice in the Mirror, so he had ways to interrupt to try to survive, but Lightning Storm just cleared it and won me the game. And yeah, Sales Ban because we hate Droll. We use that going first. We side out 2 Drolls because we keep 1 in for cross out. And then the Sales Ban just helps adding to more copies of Droll hate, like my cross out, my call by, my Talons, 2 copies of Sales Ban, just to help get around that. And then the last side deck card that I'm playing is 1 copy of Dragon's Mind, the new counter trap from Alliance Insight. This is the card I was talking about that you can send off Foolish Burial Goods. And because all of your Diabell monsters have original 2500 attack, even though after they gain 500 from Filia Diabell to turn them into 3k beaters, you can pay 2500 to just reset this. And then you can use it as an extra spell, trap, or monster effect Omni. And that's the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, leave me a comment in the comment section below. Please like the video if you enjoyed this White Forest content. If you want to see any kind of combo videos or any kind of gameplay involving this deck, let me know below. And I'll see you guys later. Peace.